can hear the helicopters in the background. You can see a container behind me. You're gonna know how excited I am because this is one of my favorite things to do. Ollie's standing by to help me. This gentleman, are you ready? Just cut it open. All right. And here we go. Good start. Nice Walter Wolf on top. RVF 400, NC35 on the bottom. Oh, wait a minute. You got to peek in here for a second. Look what second. That's going to get me a hurt. The Hayabusa sidecar. I've waited for that bike for so long. It was stuck in Japan for the longest time, and it's going to be trouble. All right, off we go.
And all the bikes are out. There was 39 motorcycles that our partners in Japan were able to pack in that container, which is pretty impressive considering one of those was actually a double wide Hayabusa sidecar, but we're gonna save that for the end. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just focusing on some of my personal favorites. In the video description below, we'll include an album that has a hero shot of every single bike if you want to go through some photos. And if any of them really call out to you, then reach out to us, sales@iconicmotorbikes.com. And if there's something that you want to buy before it goes up to auction, we're glad to work with you on that. First up is a 1987 Yamaha FZR 750 RT. And it's that RT that makes this bike special. Obviously the FZR 750, Yamaha sold a few of those. This was their homologation bike for racing purposes. They only sold 200 of these worldwide, and it comes with some pretty trick features. So the year prior, 1986, Eddie Lawson actually won the Daytona 200 on an FZ 750, or FZR 750 I should say. That was with a steel frame. For this bike, Yamaha went with an aluminum frame, had a couple extras. I mean, frankly, the big bike at the time was the FZR 1000. Yamaha gave that bike a 5-speed transmission. They gave this one a 6-speed transmission. So lots of cool things about this bike. This specific example is a Japanese model, obviously. Has just 6,327 kilometers, so roughly 4,000 miles. But honestly, one of my favorite things about this bike is that when Yamaha had it new or sold it new, they would only sell it to you if you had either an AMA or a WERA racing license. So that kind of tells you something about it. It was really just to be, it was sold for people that want to take it to the track. Really, really fantastic 750. And I personally love the paint job. It differs a little bit from the stock bikes or from the regular 750s. One of the things that you see on a lot of the Japanese bikes is that they had speed warning. So this is something that you won't see on an American bike, but once you were exceeding the Japanese national speed limit, this little red light here will light up and tell you that you're being a bad boy, I guess. So that's always pretty good. That's bike number one. Let's check out bike number two. Bike number two is, in a sense, another Yamaha. This is a Bimoto YB9 SR. If you know anything about Bimotos, their model names give you a hint as to what's powering it. So a YB9 means that it's Yamaha powered, that's what the Y is, B is for Bimoto, and 9 means it's the 9th version that they've done with the Yamaha motor. Now, Bimoto made two versions of a YB9. They made the Bellaria. That was their first 2-up bike, used a Yamaha 600 motor. This is the SR. It was the sportier version of it. Yamaha created a new version of the 600 motor for the FZR 600, and before the production FZR 600 even came out, Yamaha had supplied a few of their motors rather, for Bimoto to create this thing. The YB9 SRs were never officially sold in the United States, so it's rare to see one here. We have sold one other previously. Here, it was out of the Wilzig collection on our auction site. It was a blue one. This is the first red one that I have seen personally. But there's lots of great reviews, period reviews from guys like Alan Cathcart, hugely respected journalists that took these things out for spins and absolutely adored them. So you get Yamaha 600 power with this really exotic styling, which was very reminiscent of the Tessie 1D EF at the time, so a little bit more curvy, a little more bulbous, I guess if you want to put it that way. But just a really great way to get, again, Yamaha, like a reliable Yamaha 600 carved motor with Italian styling and exclusivity. So this will be a cool one that I look forward to seeing the shop make a runner and hopefully doing a test ride on. On to bike number 3. I'm cheating here. Bike number 3 is actually 4 different bikes. Of this incredible pool, we have 4 different Honda NC35s, also known as the RVF 400. I was actually just on an episode of Revzilla's podcast talking about the new Kawasaki ZX4RR, whatever it's called, their new inline 400 Super Sport. And one of the parts of the discussion was, hey, of all these 400 bikes that came from Japan over the years, what's your favorite? Me personally, it's the bike before this, the NC30. I just think, because I'm a sucker for the RC30, it looks more like it, but these are better bikes objectively. These kind of look like the RVF 750, the RC45s that people know and love, and they were never officially sold in the US. To be able to have 4 of them is really incredible, and they're in varying states of modification. Those look like stock wheels that have been painted blue, not stock, but looks absolutely fantastic. So you can see here, you know, aftermarket windscreen, stock windscreen with a sticker. There's gonna be some mods, there's gonna be different options for people depending on what you're looking to do. So obviously we'll go through all these, make sure they run, and we'll have a few more NC35s in America, which is not a bad thing. Bike number 4, and you might be noticing a trend here. I really dig the bikes that weren't sold in the US because it's cool to see them. This is another one of those. This is an MC28 generation of Honda's NSR 250. Now, the MC28 is kind of noticeable or distinguished for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the bodywork is different, but the 2 things I love most, 1, single-sided swing arm, which looks fantastic, and then 2, there are pluses and minuses to this, but this is the key. It is a card. And when you need to open the gas tank, this part detaches. So this is how you open the gas tank, but the actual ignition is controlled through this card. Honda sells these, you can even see here, it says NSR memory card, the PGM4 ignition. The previous generation, the MC21, had a PGM3, which used a regular key. But these memory cards were offered in the stock version, like you see here. They also sold an HRC version, which is how you were able to de-restrict the bike. So, like I said, good and bad. Good, this is insanely cool, works pretty well, but very hard to de-restrict these bikes. So if you could come over here and show people what it's like to actually pop this in. It uses, you can see here, Maxell, same company that makes old tapes and that kind of thing. So once I slide this all the way in, hear that click, ignition is on, power is on. It's got 16,000 kilometers, roughly 10,000 miles. I'm not gonna fire it up because we need to go through it, but the MC28s are some of the best Japanese 252 strokes ever built, so this is gonna be a really cool bike. Before I talk about the last bike, there's so many things here that I don't want to completely skip, but again, I don't have time to talk about every single thing. You know, we're leaving this MC28 generation NSR 250. Here's another NSR 250, another NSR 250. I'm pretty excited about this. I mean, these are really great bikes, and to be able to get them into America for people to check out and try is gonna be fantastic. Over here, another Japanese 250, not sold in the US, the RG400. Here in America, actually here in Canada, I should say, Canada got the 500, and they also got the RZV, or the RZ500 from Yamaha. But the 400 version here, this was Japanese specific because of displacement rules in a paint job that you don't see very often. So same thing like everything else. We'll go through it, make sure it's a good rider, but just really cool to see one of these that's here. The YB9 we talked about earlier, Honda NS400R. I can't skip these two, Jesus. Suzuki RGV23, this is an SP, the sport production model. A lot of these you saw in the Lucky Strike livery, but here's one if you don't like smoking, there you go. CBR 250RR, 4-stroke, 4-cylinder 250. Redline is 19,000 RPM. It is an absolute screamer. This is gonna be one of our favorite test rides to record and let you guys hear what that sounds like. So anyway, there's some bikes, R1, that Hayabusa there, that one of our employees had to point out to me was kind of like this Japanese anime character. I have to admit, I feel old when I hear about that kind of stuff, but there's lots of cool stuff here. Gixxer 400, CBR 400 here with the Rothmans paint job on some aftermarket bodywork, but Loose is here conveniently with the best of them all, or in a weird way, the worst of them all, but Adam and I are both insanely excited about this. This is a Suzuki Hayabusa with a sidecar. It's not really a statement you get to say very often. This has been what they call dark-sided. If you're into the sidecar community, you'll know that means that there's car tires on it. So you give up a lot in terms of cornering. You You're not really leaning with it as much, but the mile, I mean, normally on a bike tire like this, especially on a bike this heavy with this setup, you'd be getting 5,000 miles, whatever. Now you're getting car tire mileage, I don't know, 30,000, 40,000 miles. The front end setup is pretty fantastic with it. You can see the dual caliper brakes. You also will see EML somewhere here. Here you go, EML. It's a company that makes these conversions. They also build the sidecar itself. So generally, beyond this point, it's relatively stock Hayabusa, which is already a cool bike. But you've got this crazy front end, and then let's take just a quick look at the sidecar here, which this is a wide one. It says Speed 2000 on the back, which is a great model name. But it's, I mean, you've got size or room for 1.5 human beings here, an adult and a kid. There's a trunk so that you can fit luggage for said 1.5 people. There's a little, if I undo this bolt or this little handle here, so that pops open to give you easier access. Get in there. I guess a previous owner had brought little pads so you can sit with extra comfort. Look, you either get it or you don't, but Adam and I are insanely excited about this. So we're definitely going to take this out for a Sunday ride, give it a try, have a good time together, and then we'll let someone else own it. So like I said, if there's anything here that you've seen that appeals to you that you want to maybe snap up before it goes on the auction site, just send us an email, sales@iconicmotorbikes.com. We're always glad to help out wherever we can. Otherwise, in general, these things are going to start going through our shop. Adam does an amazing job on our social media. If you don't follow us there on Instagram and Facebook, he'll do shop walks every day, multiple times a day. He'll also look like an airplane every once in a while. I don't know if that was on frame or if I just sound crazy for saying that. But he does great shop walks, showing what the guys, what our techs are working on. You're about to see a lot of these there in the next couple of weeks. So thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. We'll do our best to answer, or just email us. And we really do appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys.